Oh, hello everyone. Today you won't find me to be the upbeat coder I normally am because today I had a pretty heartbreaking episode because my girlfriend was supposed to go on a date with me today, and then at the last minute she canceled. So I started wondering, does she love me or does she love me not? And I figured this would be a great thing to code up. So we'll program an application that may tell you that your love loves you or they don't. And then at some point we might cheat so it always says yes for me, and that'll make me feel a whole lot better. So basically it's going to be a flower, and when you click the petals of the flower, they'll fall off. So let's start by kind of getting our CSS for a flower down. We'll make a title. And by the way, if the person in your heart is a man, you can write "he loves me." Doesn't matter if you're male or female. We're not here today to judge. We're here to write some code. So then we'll make a div, and we'll make the ID equal to flower. And we'll make another div here. Even though we're going to make the petals with code, we'll just make a petal now so we can style it. Good stuff. Let's start by making sure the petal looks good. And actually we'll make a container, flower container for that div class, and put it all inside. What's the matter, Code Cat? You ready to write some code? That's Code Cat down there. She loves to write code. Up you go to your code spot, bud. Code Cat, she is ready to code, ready to help. All right, what is next? Right, something showing up on the screen would be good. So let's create some styles for the flower container. Just put it right in the middle of the screen. Position absolute, top 200 pixels, left 200 pixels. And let's actually just give it a border of 1 pix solid red for now, just so we can see it. A height of, how big do we want? I guess 400 by 400 pixels, width 400 pixels. And there it is. So this is where our thing's going to appear inside. We've got a 400 by 400 flower container. Now let's work on the petal. So the petals, I want them to be able to rotate around a central spot. So let's make a petal. We'll just start by trying to make it a box. So we'll say height 200 pixels, width 100 pixels, background color is purple. Position absolute. I'm sorry for the sound, folks. We got some laborers working today in my building. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't really know how to make the petal shape on my own. Luckily, I looked up someone else who already made a code pen that has a flower in it, so we're just gonna copy what he did here. How does that even work? So this is the petal. Are they skewing it? Is that what makes it a petal shape? Yeah, so it's a rectangle that's rotated and skewed. I like it. So here's our rectangle, and let's transform it. And it'll rotate 45 degrees. And skew, how do you even measure a skew? Enlist a number? 10? Pixels? CSS transform skew. So you skew X and skew Y by degrees. That's weird. Let's say skew X 20 degrees. All right, cool. So it's starting to look a little bit like a petal. Let's make this 100 by 100. Will that look a little better? Nice, not too bad. Skew X 45 degrees, 10 degrees, 0. Skew 10 degrees, 45 degrees. Not quite. Yeah, you know, just having a square as the base for a petal should be pretty good. Now, to make it kind of look like a petal, we want to give half of it a round border radius and the other half not. So we'll say border radius. If we just give it 50%, it'll be a circle. But if we give it 50%, it'll be a weird sort of petal thing. And if we give it 0 followed by 350%, we get a little teardrop petal shape. So how can we make this taller? 200? No, that just messes things up. Skew X 50 degrees? I'm just guessing here. 90 degrees. Oh, and it just disappears. Just disappears altogether if you skew it by 90 degrees. So this little shape will work for a petal. We kind of have our prototype petal shape. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want our petal kind of rotating around this central point. We want to get the CSS down for that because that's going to be the central animation for our little program that we're going to be building. So how shall we do this? We're basically going to want to place it in a container and then rotate the container around the central point. So we'll put the petal inside a div with a class of petal container. And we'll give the petal container a class definition. So we're going to want the position to be absolute. And let's see here. We want the height and the width to both be 400, just like its parent container. And we'll actually give us a background color so we can see where it is. And there it is. It's fitting perfectly on top of our thing. And if we rotate it by 45 degrees, it rotates how we want from its center. So that's looking good. This will make a good container for the flower. So let's put this actual petal in the petal container. And that's good. Now what if we take this rotation away from the petal? We kind of want it to appear in the middle on the bottom. Let's get rid of the rotation for now for the container. And that's looking good. What if we just get rid of the rotate on the petal? Almost. Now it's just kind of backwards. Let's rotate it 180 degrees. Cool. So now it points to the inside of the container. So now if we rotate the container, the whole petal will rotate with it. We can get rid of the background color. And now we can even start to animate it. We'll say animation. I forget how to animate things already. Let's say spin 1 second. And then we'll say at keyframes, spin 0%. Transform, rotate 0 degrees. 100%. Transform, rotate, that should be 0 degrees. 360 degrees. Spin 1 second, ease, linear, infinite. Cool, so that's really spinning nice and fast. Now we're gonna wanna make that spin a lot slower, like 10 seconds, nice and leisurely. It's a nice leisurely spin. Good stuff. Now we want it to be a little bit closer to the middle of the thing. How shall we do that? We want lots of different petals with different rotating properties. We don't need this transform rotate. So it looks like we'll have to make another thing, a petal container wrapper, to give it a custom rotation override. Wrap that all up in there. And for petal container wrapper, it also has position absolute, height 400 pix, width 400 pix. But we can say in the styles, transform, rotate 45. And now if we make 2 petal container wrappers and change the rotate on 1, that's weird. I'm not seeing the second petal like I want to. What's going on here? Open up the inspector. Okay, that should be 90 degrees. All right, we got our 2 petals. Ultra, ultra cool. So now that we know we can create petals and we can have them all rotating around the same spot, we want to use code to create a whole bunch of petals that's rotating around our flower. So for the time being, let's comment out both these petal container wrappers, because we're going to write them all in code. Lastly, though, let's add a flower center. And it's just going to be a nice yellow circle. Height 200, width 200, position absolute, background color lemon yellow. Who even knows if that's real? Border 1 pix solid yellow. Border radius 50%. And just make this yellow. Now I kind of want to make it in the middle, so we'll say top 50%. Too far. What do we want? 100 pix? That should be exactly right because of the numbers that we've used. And left 100 pix. And we have got our flower center. So let's use a bit of JS to draw a random number of petals around this central part of the flower. Let's change the border color of this flower center actually to pink. That's nice. That gives it a warm little flavor. So say const petal numbers, and let's just give it, we'll put a random number in later maybe. Const petal numbers, then we'll do a loop for the petals. For var I equals 0, I is less than petal numbers, I plus plus. We will append to the document. So in our ID flower, say const flower equals document.get element by ID flower. And so for each one of these, we'll say flower dot inner HTML plus equals, and we'll just append another petal to it. So we'll copy this HTML that we wrote. So each time we loop through this, we're going to paste another petal container wrapper in there. Haha, look at it go. It's working already. Get out of here, you crazy code. We're not even ready for you to start working. You're already looking great. That's outstanding. So petal number 7. So let's just clean this up. Should have a closing div as well, by the looks of that. So here for rotate 45, instead of saying rotate 45, we'll actually calculate the rotation. Const rotation equals I divided by petal numbers times 360. Or is it petal numbers divided by I? That should work. That should work. And let's just put our rotate value here and see what happens. Rotate degrees. Cool beans. So we've got a big old rotating flower, and rather than trying to fix up the CSS so these all touch the thing, I'm just going to cheat a little and just change the way the flower center looks so that all the petals line up, because it's just hard work getting those things all to fit. So I'll change the height and width to 300, and then the top and bottom to, I want to say 50. Cool. So that's all good. We want the petals showing up above the flowers. So let's say z index is 1. And for the petal, the z index is 50. Still nothing. Why is that yellow circle in front of our petal? It's adding the flowers after the flower center, so I don't see why the flower center would necessarily be in front of the petals. Or maybe z-index needs to be lower. No, z-index doesn't seem to change much, unless we make it a negative value. So what the hell? Let's take our flower center and give it a z-index of -50. Close our console. That's looking good. Next, let's up the petal number so that they kind of fill it up, make it look like a full-size flower. 24. Interesting. It kind of looks like a flower. It almost looks more like a Danish, but that's all right. It's not a contest. Can we just make all of the petals bigger, or is that just going to break our CSS? Let's just make the petals 200 by 200. Does that break everything? Kind of. Back to 100 by 100. And let's just make the circle bigger again. 350, 350, 25, 25. And let's give these petals a more easy to see border. Border 2 pixels white. Solid white. So cool. There is our flower. It's spinning, and we have to take the petals off to see if our love loves us. Let's get rid of this border, this red border that we have going on here. So it's just a flower. And also, I kind of want the flower to spin in when it appears, you know, just for an effect. So we'll say the element with the ID of flower. We'll give it an animation, and we'll say 2 seconds appear linear. Now we'll define the keyframes for appear. At 0%, its transform is scale 0. Works already. Outstanding. So that's kind of all it wants for our thing to appear. And actually, we'll make that, do we want to make that the whole flower container? Yeah, I'll make that the flower container that the keyframes are on. It's just that easy. Isn't that a great animation? So let's make that a little bit faster and a little bit choppier. 0.8 seconds, ease in. Ease in, out. Oh, it can't have linear and ease in, out. It can only have one. Nice. So now we've created a spinning flower. Now what we're going to want to do is handle these petals being clicked. When the petals are clicked, we want to change the "she loves me" status and update the user. Let them know what the current status is. So let's actually put a header here. h2 id equals loves me. We'll say, we'll always start on "she loves me." Now in the JavaScript, let's hide the CSS for now. In the JavaScript, we'll add a Boolean, and we'll say let loves me status equals true. And we'll add a function here, const toggle loves me, and loves me status will equal not. Loves me status, and we'll update the loves me div. Document.get element by ID loves me dot inner HTML equals she loves me plus, and if loves me status is true, we'll just add a period, but if it's not, we'll add the word not and a period. And now for each one of these petals, we'll add an onClick. Instead of a const here, we'll actually make this property of the window. Window.toggle loves me equals that. And so when you click the petal, it will just call toggle loves me. Is it on click with a big one? I always forget this on click syntax. Can you even put on click on a div? On click, no capital. Let's put all these in quotes so it thinks we're playing nice with it. And let's actually just console log this. Toggle love. Why is it not working? let's inspect one of our petals. Do we have toggle loves me here in the window? So toggle loves me work, but when we click the petal, we're not seeing it. That's weird. What is wrong with our code here? JavaScript div on click not working. And this guy has on click with a capital. Does it even matter? I thought we saw it there for a second. Is it being covered by something? Yeah, it only likes to click, it only likes this front petal. Because I guess all the other ones are blocked by the petals wrapper. That's a tricky one. Let's see. CSS ignore clicks. So what if we put the pointer events null in the petal container wrapper and the petal container? Now it doesn't want to even click the front petal. Now if we add pointer events to the petal, pointer events, pointer events attribute, how do you make it back to normal? Auto. So maybe we make the pointer events on the petal auto. Great, it works. So now we can toggle our love whenever we click on the petals. Something's wrong with this HTML, it's not updating. Why is that? Equals that plus that or not. We want to put all this in brackets. It's getting the ordering fudged up. Inner HTML equals whatever this whole statement resolves to. Or not quite. Let's put these brackets on a second thing. There's always she loves me plus loves me status, this stuff. Cool, so now each time we click, it changes between if she loves me or if she loves me not. You know, this might have made more sense for Valentine's Day now that I think about it. It's not very spooky. Let's actually make this flower orange to make it spookier. And petal, what's a Halloweeny color? I guess dark gray. Ooh, that's a spooky flower. It also doesn't look like a flower at all. Let's just give it a normal color, steel blue. That's an orange and blue flower. All right, so this is looking good, but there's one problem. The petals don't fall off when we click them. So we don't know, you know, we have to click all the petals to find out if our love loves us or not. So every time we click the petal, we need to kind of implement a callback. So whichever petal it is gets a class that makes it disappear. I don't think we'll be able to get them to fall because that's going to take too long, but maybe we can make them, you know, shrink or poof. So let's say, see, we need some way to pass the petal ID. So for each one of these petals, we'll give it an ID of petal dash I. So each one will have a numeric kind of associate. And then in toggle loves me, we'll pass that value. Now in our code for toggle loves me, let's put this in petal key, and we'll just log the petal key. Cool. So based on which one we click, it knows which petal we have done our thing on. And the number after toggle love changes based on which petal we've clicked. So what we'll do is we'll find the petal that was toggled, and we will just make it poof, disappear. So we'll add an animation, add keyframes, disappear. And we'll say 100%, transform, scale, 0. So let's just see how that works. And we'll make a class that we add to stuff to make it disappear. We'll just make it called disappears. And it will have an animation of disappear 1 second, ease in, out. So here in toggles love me, we'll get a reference to the petal now. We'll say const petal equals document.getElement by ID. And we'll say petal dash petal key. And how do we add a class to something? JavaScript add class to DOM element. Dot class name plus equals the new class. So we'll say petal dot class name plus equals space disappears. So now when we click them, they should disappear, and they certainly don't. Why is that? And let's just log the petal we've changed after. Console.log new better petal. Petal. We'll save that up. So it is adding our proper class. It's a petal.disappears. We've made a mistake somewhere in our code. So to do that, we'll have to have a look at our styles. What's even going on here with this HTML? I just want to find my petal. All right, let's try a different tack. Let's get rid of this and just add a display none to disappears. Is it working at all? Oh, we spelled it wrong. Dis with 1 S and 2 P's. Thank you very much. And the petals are disappearing. That's a little ugly, so let's go back to our animation-based solution. So disappears animation just kind of makes it go upside down and then go back to normal. That doesn't look right. So 0% transform scale 100. Whoa, that's too big. Scale 1. And let's see, what is the default rotation on the petal? 180, that's the problem. Disappear, scale 1, rotate 180. And for the end, we'll actually make that rotate down to 0 so it shrinks and disappears. Seems to be up to some weird stuff here. What if we just transform the rotate? Will that work? Is it a problem with scale? Yeah, they rotate and then kind of stay where they were. Maybe we'll just use alpha. CSS animate alpha. How does that gonna work? What is the opacity quality? Let's just do opacity. So when it starts to disappear, it'll say I have opacity 1. Opacity 1, and then when it finishes, it'll be opacity 0. Cool. Now we have to make the frame stay at the end. CSS animation stay at end. How do you do that? So we want a fill mode of forwards to add it to the end. Let's just try putting forwards here. That's 4 wads. Forwards. All right, great. So that's pretty much it, really. We click the petals, and it keeps going from love me to love me not. And we'll also make pointer events none, because we don't want to be able to click the same one twice. So if we click all the petals, they all fall off, and we eventually get she loves me. Great. So if you have an even number, she always turns out to love you. So what we'll do is we'll take this petal numbers and we'll just kind of randomize it a little bit. It'll always end in true love. So we'll say const petal numbers equals 12, and then we'll make that to plus math.random times 12 times, and I'll take that and we'll put that in a ceiling, math.ceiling. And now here's the tricky part. We'll always multiply that last number by 2. So no matter what, it's always a number that will end in them loving you. Great. So this has certainly been fun for me. I've discovered that my true love does indeed love me. Thank you, this cool app. Now you have this. I do advise you to play this with your paramour, you know, to see if they have someone on their mind. And you can always find the code up here on the code pen. And as always, follow the channel and let me know what you think. Been the Code Whisperer. Happy coding.